Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages. The Play Callers proudly bring to you, up in the corner there, Stephen Box, your boy Cool McCain, the undisputed, universal, Galaxio, and so many other things, transcontinental, universal again, tag team champions of interactive sports talk, the Play Callers. And as you can see, we're joined today above me, Mr. Sports Scoop One himself, Jordan Long, and beside me, the Charm City Wizard, JJ. And we are bringing to you another wonderful episode of the Play Caller Sports Talk Show, where we will be talking lots of things basketball, as well as some NFL news, and of course, many great opinions. What we'd like for you guys to do is slam that share button, that like button, and if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button. And then over here on the side in the chat, we'd love to hear you guys talk with us and let us know what's happening. Give us your thoughts on the things that we discussed today. Can you do that for us, chat? We would definitely appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Let us know. Take your best guess at if someone is being murdered at Cool's house or not.
Why does it have to be the black man's house? That's what I want to know.
Because I know the voices in the background, sir, and they're at your house.
This guy, Mr. Stephen Box. So many accusations. Always accusations.
Always trying to make it about color.
It be all those. It always be the people close to you, right? It be those. Just the people you got to watch. So let this be a lesson, good people. You know what I'm saying? It always be those close to you.
We got lots of room over in the chat, man. You already in the right place to be.
Yeah, come on, that's a great place for you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You got room to stretch out the legs over here. Like we're all cramped in here. Can't even get them with our upper bodies in.
So, gentlemen, would you like to start with a little NBA talk tonight? Or would we like to start with some NCAA talk? Where would you guys like to go?
Well, JJ, you're the one who usually has to leave a little early. So where would you like to start? What are you most passionate about talking about tonight?
NBA.
Fair enough. I'm cool with that.
So cool. What topic are we going to hit up first?
So the first thing I'd like to discuss is we know who the top six are in the East and the West, right? So what would be
tonight
your right? So I'll throw over those real quick and then we can get everyone's thoughts on those. So in the East, we've got a little change here. We've got the Milwaukee Bucks at 45-17. Now number one in the East. Number two, now the Boston Celtics at 45-18. Number three, the Philadelphia 76ers at 40-22. Number four, the Cleveland Cavaliers, 39-26. The Knicks have slid up to number five at 37-27. The Nets have slid to six at 34-28. So that's our, cutoff. So, we usually do the top six in these conference because those are the teams that, right, are, as of now in the playoffs and not the play-in games under this new NBA structure. So in the West, we have the Denver Nuggets at number one, 44-19. At number two, we have the Memphis Grizzlies at 38-23. Sacramento Kings at 36-25 and third. The Phoenix Suns, 34-29 and fourth. And the fast rising Golden State Warriors at 33-30. And then at six, we have the Dallas Mavericks at 33-31. So, gentlemen, the first question I would ask is, do you have any thoughts on any specific team or any teams where their placement is in that top six? And Will, this is for you too.
Honestly, if you look at the Suns, I mean, they're fourth. I could see them going up to second or third. I mean, they've gotten better with Kevin Durant. And of course, you've got CP3 and Devin Booker. That's a team that I look at that could be dangerous. I know you and I are Nuggets fans, but that's the only team that actually scares me. In the East, though, I mean, all of them are pretty good. Whether or not, it's not surprising the Bucks and the Celtics and the 76ers are 1 through 3. I just don't know if any of the 4, 5, and 6, which is the Cavs, the Knicks, and the Nets will do much in the playoffs. But either way, though, I mean, it's going to be, especially in the West, could this be the year for the Nuggets? That's what I'm looking at.
I think the two teams I'm looking forward to the most, seeing how they're going to play, is the Sacramento Kings and the New York Knicks, because I think those are the two teams that you don't know much about in Sacramento's case. And the New York Knicks, you kind of think they're going to be a team that's just pretty much going to probably maybe get a game or two in the first round, but be eliminated. But those teams are playing some really good basketball. And yes, the regular season doesn't really always translate to the postseason, as we've seen over the years. But the Knicks played the Celtics well. The Kings played the Clippers well. The Kings played the Warriors well. They've played these teams very well. So it's not. They remind me of what Minnesota was last year. As in, well, more the Kings. The Knicks we're going to see what they're about, because Jalen Brunson was a key reason why the Dallas Mavericks were able to make it so far last year. And so if you get the same production from Julius Randle, who seems to be going off, and you have Jalen Brunson, and then you have gritty players like Mitchell Robinson coming back, Josh Hart, and their defensive team, I can see them taking a series against Cleveland, because I don't know if you can consistently count on Evan Mobley and Jared Allen to match the production that Julius Randle is going to bring. And so I'm thinking of both of those teams, and I literally look at Sacramento because I think they have a very good chance of upsetting whoever they possibly play at the 6th seed, which ironically is considered upset because people think if let's say it was the Warriors or the Clippers or any team of the top 4 that may have slid down because of the games in between, you never know.
Fair enough. I like your mention of Josh Hart, because that was a thing that a lot of people didn't talk a lot about. But as I said last night when we were on the tip-off, Josh Hart knows Jalen Brunson. They have a connection from their days in college together. Jalen Brunson was elated when he figured out Josh Hart was coming. Josh Hart is a difference maker because he does one thing a lot of people don't do that you just mentioned. He actually gets after the defensive end. And just to respond to Jordan quickly, that's my concern with the Phoenix Suns. Who's going to play defense? We're going to get a little defense out of Kevin Durant. He's like 34 now, so we're not going to get the same level of defense. But besides him, who's going to play defense? DeAndre Ayton might decide 1 out of 3 games he wants to play. Chris Paul pretty much just gave up on defense. And then Devin Booker's never been a guy that, to me, did much on defense. I mean, he's not the worst defender, but he's far from the best. He'll give you a minimal effort on the defensive side of the ball. So my thing with Phoenix is, what are they going to do when they're in that situation? Will says we don't talk about Hart and Brunson college team. You know why? Good one. All right, Mr. Box, what about you, sir? Any thoughts on those top 6 from each conference?
I mean, I think for me, the interesting to kind of watch is not necessarily the top, right? Because I feel like the Nuggets are pretty much locked into the 1 seed, right? I don't see that changing. When I look at the top of the West, the Suns can move up, so maybe the Grizzlies and the Kings move down a slot or 2. But for the most part, I think those teams are kind of locked in, right? They're not going to move that far. It might be a little bit of jockeying for position, but it's not going to be that big of a difference. But when you start looking at everything under that, when you start looking at 5, 6, and beyond, and especially in the West, it's like gnat booty tight. There's only like a 3-4 game difference between like the freaking 12th seed and the 4 seed. So that's what's going to be intriguing to me, is to watch how some of these teams handle that pressure of knowing they don't really have a lot of room for error, right? This is the first year where we've really seen it be this close with that many teams, where everyone has that pressure on them. And it's almost like playoff basketball coming early for a lot of these teams. So that's what I'm going to be interested to look at in the Western Conference, and just kind of watching how those teams roll with that.
Yeah, it's
In
only
the East, it's just like who's going to be the 1 seed, right? The Bucks or the Celtics. They are just battling back and forth. Honestly, my personal opinion, I don't think there's even a reason to be concerned about anybody else in the East because those are going to be the two teams in the Eastern Conference Finals, and nobody else matters. Maybe we'll, maybe my opinion will change depending on a matchup that, gets locked up in playoffs. Because as we always talk about, the playoffs are all about matchups. So maybe if somebody gets a bad matchup, my opinion might change. But as of right now, no, that's how I'm feeling.
Yeah,
also, shout out to Coach Dante.
Yes, sir. Coach Dante, what up? So when I look at the West, like you said, there's 5.5 games between 13 and 4. So I look at that as a lot of where the changes could go, but there's only 3 games between 4 and 3. Yep. So you're talking about less than 10 games between 13 and 3, but less than 6 between 13 and 4. So there's going to be a lot of moving. Like we talk about the Warriors up to 5 now, but they're only a half a game up on 6, right? They're only a game up on 7. So the Warriors lose a game, they slide back down. I think, the Nuggets are having a good regular season. What the narrative is now switched to for those Nugget haters, and they are out there, and I can name some. If you watch on Sports Empire Network at 10 p.m. tonight, you'll see a few. Those Nugget haters now say, oh, but can you do it in the playoffs? So the question is, for that, of course they can. They were the 6th seed last year with their 2nd and 3rd best players, scorers, and players not there through the injury for an entire season. So if you tell me that team is not going to be better than it was last year, all I'm going to do is look in your face and say you are a sad individual, right? Now, will they win a championship? That's to be determined. Do I anticipate them being in the Eastern Conference Finals and possibly, the Western Conference Finals and possibly the NBA Finals? Absolutely. But getting there and winning is 2 completely different things. So we're just waiting to see what's going to happen on that. In the East, my co-host nailed it. It's 2 teams. There's no need to play. It's 2 teams. There is nobody else right now. The Sixers are the closest. Talent-wise, they could do it, but they have not proven to anybody that they will do it yet.
And those 2 will give you the best series for the Eastern Conference Finals between Boston and Milwaukee, like the absolute best series. And so, it's those 2.
To Cool's point about the Nuggets, we have proven we can play with anybody this year. So, yes, the playoffs are a different animal. I had the goal for me this year with Michael Porter Jr. and Jamal Murray healthy was the Western Conference Finals. That's where I want us to go. Whether or not we win that series and go to the NBA Finals, who knows? Would I like us to win a championship? Of course I would. But again, we gotta do it in the playoffs. We've done it in the playoffs before. Everyone forgets a couple of years ago in the bubble, we went to the Western Conference Finals, lost to the Lakers, but this team has proven they can go far.
I think
they don't want to talk about that, sir.
I think with you guys, I just think I need to see a little. I think Michael Porter Jr. has got to be the more consistent one as of in the last, like when he's on. Jamal has kind of came back to form. Jamal's kind of doing this thing. Joker's going to be Joker. But I think what really makes your team deadly is when Michael Porter is out there and he's getting his like 20, 25 points for a couple of awards and a couple of assists. That's going to be a difference maker because in the West, everybody has 2 stars. Everybody has 2 stars that you're going to be facing. Fox and Sabonis, Steph and Clay. You got Durant, Booker. Now you need that other guy to match another team's Andrew Wiggins or a Draymond Green type situation. I think Michael Porter's got to be that guy if he wants to get y'all as far. If y'all want to go as far as y'all think y'all can go.
I would agree with you to a point. We have KCP. Pope has been.
Do like KCP.
Yeah, KCP can actually go off if Michael Porter Jr. is playing, not up to his game. So I'm not worried about Michael Porter Jr. having a bad game because of the depth of the team this year.
Bruce Brown.
Exactly.
It's another guy that stepped up greatly for us. We brought in Reggie Jackson, another guy to put in that guard rotation. And then let's not forget, we actually have a second guy who is not a shell of his former self now that can actually play alongside or in place of Jokic and Thomas Bryant. So now you're getting good minutes when Jokic is not on the floor, and you're not seeing the production dip like it was when we had the ghost of DeAndre, what you call it out there.
Yeah. I'm just gonna throw this out real quick too, man. For people who maybe don't watch the show on a regular basis, don't know, I'm not a Nuggets fan. I'm a Lakers fan, and when I hear people talk about things like, oh, the Nuggets need to be able to prove they can do this in the playoffs, answer this question for me. In the Western Conference, outside of the Golden State Warriors, who has proven they can do it in the playoffs? Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
So guess what? The Nuggets and everybody else in the Western Conference has to prove they can do it. That's a stupid argument. Every single one of these teams has to prove they can do it in the playoffs.
Right.
I can't argue with that one because you're right.
That's the way I didn't say it.
Well, that's why I wanted to, make sure that people understood I'm not a Nuggets fan. I didn't want them to think like, oh, all these Nuggets homers over here. Nah. Screw the Nuggets.
Fair enough.
But to your point, and an NBA fan is hypocritical. They'll claim that the league has no parity because it's the same teams over and over, but then consistently tell a player, you got to prove it in the playoffs. And how do you tell an individual player to prove it when he's one player? Like you look at last year against the Warriors, Draymond even said it. Jokic made him work harder than anybody, just didn't have the talent around him.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same way we like to praise players when they carry a team all year, and then as soon as they lose, it's not the player's fault. It's because they didn't have nobody. I might be talking about a specific person, but we're not gonna say no names.
There's a few people, and just so I want people to understand one other point before we move on to our next, which will be, our thoughts on the top MVP candidates. I just want everybody to understand this. We have this preconceived folly of a notion that to be the champs, you got to beat the champs, right? Let me tell you something, man. It's very rarely that the champs even get back to a point where they can be beat, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if you're saying this, if we're doing this year, right? And this is when someone said it because the champs were last year and everybody loves Golden State. So Golden State's fifth right now. So they play the Suns. So for the sake of argument, this matchup happens. Suns play the Warriors. Suns beat the Warriors. Are the Suns the champs now? No. Because they haven't beat anybody but the Warriors. They still got to go through, win the Western Conference, and still win the championship. You don't have to beat the team that was the champs last year to be the champs. This is not professional wrestling.
What
are you talking about?
Look, in that case, do the Suns then, are they the only team that can beat the champions since they, beat the last champions? Is that the way that works?
This is not a number one contenders tournament, sir.
Right.
This is not AEW, WWE, New Japan, Impact Wrestling, Ring of Honor, MLW, any of those shows. This is professional basketball in the NBA. You beat whoever's the winner of the other conference, you win your conference, and that's how a champion is determined. So miss me. All of you clowns who run around talking about to be the man, you got to beat the man. Take that to professional wrestling and leave it there. That's the only place.
I feel like you really missed an opportunity to do your Rocky impression there. That's how.
So I'm saving that. But just because you brought it up, it doesn't matter. If you beat them, it matters if you beat whoever wins the Eastern Conference or the Western Conference. Just want to make sure I clarified that by putting that point out there for people. Joe, you got a shout out here, Mr. JJ.
Oh wow! Look at my mom. Imagine that. Imagine that. Oh wow! Yes. Hey mom.
And so our next topic.
She's hoops all day. Hoops all day.
The next topic, we'll start with Mr. Charm City Wizard himself, especially since his mom's watching. Give her a chance to see her son's expertise. What are your thoughts on the MVP race?
Hey, it's tight, and I love it. It's tight. I definitely am looking forward to seeing how these last 20 games fare out for these MVP candidates like Tatum, Giannis, Joker, Joel. I think Joker's ahead. I think Joker's at the top, but I think that the only person I think realistically has the chance to catch him is Giannis. I think Tatum's kind of teeter off a little bit, even though he has pushed out. He just out 41 the other night against Cleveland, I believe. But I think Joker, the way he's been playing, it's insane. It's if he gets to average a triple double as a big man, I think the last one to do that was Will, and I think it's a three-peat for him. It's so effortlessly for him, but it's a tight race.
Third time someone's three-peat in the history of the MVPs.
He's a tough dude. I think it's Joker's, but I think Giannis can catch him if Giannis busts out the Giannis-like games, 50 plus with 14, 15 rebounds. But it depends.
Yeah, and when your team is on a 16-game winning streak, it doesn't hurt your chances of surpassing someone for the MVP as well.
Yeah, but I don't know if y'all played them. Did I already play them twice? Because I feel like I only seen y'all play them once.
Play who?
The Giannis. Yeah.
Did we play the Bucks twice? I don't remember if we have.
I don't think we played them twice yet. I remember once. I don't think we played them twice yet.
In that case, that matchup, in my opinion, is going to decide it. It's going to decide it right there.
And I believe, sorry to cut you off, JJ, I think that in that matchup, Joker didn't even play, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, snap.
We only played once. We play on March 25th.
There you go.
Interesting. Well,
so Wilson comes down to Doncic, Tatum, Giannis, and Joker. He's got Joker.
It's hard to go against, the Joker. I mean, I am biased. Like JJ said, he's averaging a triple double. The question I have though is the NBA. Do they want to give him another, MVP because they haven't really wanted to do that? I would agree with Will though or Mr. Voggs that. Yeah, Doncic should be in the conversation, but the thing is, though, I don't think he's the MVP. I have to go with Joker because of the fact that he's averaging a triple-double.
Yeah, I mean, I think right now Joker is clearly the front runner, right? It's not an overwhelming slam dunk. It's a done deal, but he's definitely leading right now. But of course, if we're going to talk about this, we have to bring up the other conversation. And that would be Mr. Kendrick Perkins in his asinine comments.
That man.
I would like to ask Kendrick Perkins how many white people have actually won the MVP in the last 30 years.
I think whatever Kendrick Perkins is sipping on is not something that is easily gettable in the store.
Yeah,
because whatever it is very strong. And it has him slightly hallucinating. So Coach Dante says he has Jokic. He's going to win first place in the Western Conference. And boy, if he gets the MVP award, imagine how Philly fans are going to act. My goodness, but I got Jokic. So I definitely agree.
The interesting thing about that is I think the more he plays, the less Joel cares about the MVP. I think Joel really, above all, wants to win a title. I think it's really the Philly fans that care about the MVP because if you talk to Joel wants to feel what Steph has felt. He wants to feel.
That's what everybody wants.
He remembers being 1 3-point away from being in the finals of the Eastern Conference with a better chance to win back when Jimmy Butler was with him. He wants that. I think the Joel fans, they want him to have that MVP so he can say, "I got the MVP over Joker" because Joker keeps winning.
Yeah, that's what it is. And then they want to say that he's more athletic than Joker. Who cares? Jokic puts up a triple-double. He's averaged a triple-double. That shows the versatility.
If you're less athletic and you're putting up better numbers, right?
Mm-hmm.
So Coach Dante has a response here. He says Kendrick Perkins is sipping on purple oil. How are you padding stats if the game is close against the Clippers going into overtime and you're trying to do whatever it takes to help? Right. See, that's the thing with these guys and some of their takes. And this is not just Jokic, but all sports, right? You're just saying things just to be saying.
I'm gonna have to roll out.
All right, sir.
All right, see you next week, man.
I'll see y'all next week. Y'all have a good one, okay?
Mm-hmm. And the thing is, it's really crazy because you sit here, you listen to him, you think about it, and they're just saying things for shock value. They don't be believing stuff that they're saying. There's no possible way. You know what I'm saying? There is no possible way that that's realistically what you want. And thank you, Mom, for checking us out today. JJ's mom for checking us out, definitely.
Yeah.
And so talked about the NBA. So definitely want to get into your guys' thoughts on the NCAA tournament. We have a lot of things coming, right? We've got all these teams that are going to be bringing in automatic bids. I'm not going to worry about those. We can talk about those later. But we've got the conference tournaments that have started and are going to be hitting. So, Jordan, I'm going to go to you for this, that you get, kind of tell us some of your thoughts. So, talk to me, what teams do you think are under the radar in their conference that you think can win their conference championship and get an automatic bid?
Well, if you look at what is it, where Gonzaga is, they're not even the number one seed. They're under the radar. I know it's funny to say, but they're not even the number one seed. I could see them, making a run to at least win their conference. I know that's silly to think, but if you look at the Pac-12, yes, UCLA is the best team out there, but is there a team that can beat them? I think there certainly is. You look at, Arizona State have their chance, Arizona. I mean, the Pac-12 in general, yes, you have UCLA, but I think any one of those teams that are, 2 through 4 seeds in that tournament could definitely knock, UCLA off. The question is, UCLA is going for the number one seed. That's their motivation. How much motivation does everyone else have?
Not sure if Cole's internet froze or
it looks like he's meditating.
Sense. Looks like he's taking a nap.
That or meditating.
No, it didn't. It didn't. I'm here.
Okay. It was just frozen on with your eyes closed for a second. I think it just froze up on you. All good though.
Yeah, it did. So I know you're not as big of a basketball guy here, Stephen, but any ones you thought about?
I really haven't too much paid attention to college right now because Florida State's horrible, and therefore I really haven't paid much attention to college basketball.
I feel the same way about Colorado, but I'm still paying attention to these conference tournaments.
I'm a round of 32 guy. That's when we get to the round of 32, that's when I'll be watching all the games.
This guy.
Hey man, just keep it real with you.
So I'll say this. So I'll go through a couple of the ones here, and
so Coach Nante said the SEC. He's going to go with
maybe
Texas A&M as a dark horse.
That's not a bad choice.
But he's going with Alabama.
Of course, Alabama's the number one team right now.
I like that. Like you talk about the American Athletic Conference, right? So for me, of course, Houston is a team. I don't think anybody would argue with that. But here's a team that always is good in tournament competition that I want people to think about here. Not a great record this year, not a horrible record, over 500. But this is the only way that you're going to see them in the tournament at 15-14, and that's the Wichita State.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah, that's a team low enough where you're like, record not as good, under 500 in a conference, but we know what Wichita State can do in a tournament, what we've seen them do in the past. So that's one of those where, you kind of look at it and just say it's almost like it's there. And come on, the name's the Shockers, right? So it's time for them to shock somebody again. So what about you, Jordan? Anybody you could think of from the AAC besides Wichita State that may be a surprise team that could do something in the conference tournament?
No, just that one. You made a good point. Yeah, you're right. Their record may not be good, but they always find a way to sneak into the tournament by winning the conference tournament or having a better record. I forgot about them. They are a good basketball program, but I don't see anyone else doing much more than them, especially if they go far and find a way. Obviously, they have to win the tournament, and if they do, yeah, you're right. They're going to shock everybody.
Yeah. Then we go to the Atlantic 10. The team to beat there, obviously, is VCU, possibly Dayton. Those are the top 2 teams. They're only separated by a few games overall. In the conference, a couple of games as well, so really tight. But I think in this conference, a team to look at, and again, this is a team that's consistent, does things in the tournament. George Mason. You know, it is the same thing. If you look through, for me, it's a lot of them are very similar. You know what I'm saying?
I also wouldn't sleep on Dayton. Dayton can, make some outside shots, make a run there.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, Coach Dante, I'm with that. I know Will said Kansas State and Tennessee. Definitely 2 teams you could always say are in that thing. And then with the Atlantic Sun, Liberty is a good one. Coach Dante is going with Memphis Tigers. Anytime you got Penny, and Kendrick Davis is a really good guard, so agree with that. Kennesaw is beatable in their conference. Houston, off the rip. If you don't have Houston winning, I don't know what fantasy world you're living in. But just, looking at some of those teams that could do something. Then the ACC, the homer's coming out. Do I even really need to say it? You know who I think is going to make a run deep in this tournament, and I think is going to win, right? And that's the UNC Tar Heels. They're, to me, the most talented team in the country, also the most disappointing team in the country. If there's a time to pull it together, you don't want to be the first team ever to be a #1 preseason team and not make the tournament. And if you don't go deep in this ACC tournament and win this game against Duke, that's a real possibility.
Oh, I 100% agree. I definitely agree with that. But, there's still so many good teams there. You look at Duke 13-6. Again, that the game this weekend is definitely going to determine what the fate is for UNC going into the conference tournament.
Yeah, because they get this win, they could jump a few spots and get themselves to a point where they could have that, that double bye, right? Mm-hmm. They lose this game, they're going to get a bye, but they're not going to have a double bye. So
and you want the
triple bye, excuse me. Yeah,
and you do want the bye to get some rest, especially in that tournament, because it's always tough.
Absolutely. Another team besides Duke to look out for, I think, here is actually NC State. NC State has played well in conference. They've been very aggressive this year. Not as much talent as we've seen from teams in the past, but when you're playing well together, when you're playing as a solid team, you could sometimes supersede that. So I think that's definitely what's happened there. And we'll just go through a couple more of the conferences. We won't go through all of them.
So
but the Big 12.
So real quick, I was going to ask you in regards to the ACC. As Coach Dante pointed out, Miami's a pretty good team this year. Do you not have any confidence in them at all?
Well, we're talking about teams that we don't think that are not, the easy make. So we're talking about teams that are not those top teams. I definitely feel like Miami is the favorite to win.
Gentlemen,
just kind of going over teams that are not.
Hey, so, well.
What's up, Will?
What's up, y'all?
I definitely agree with Coach
Thank you for the invite, Steven.
Hey, I didn't even know you snuck in.
Steven
North Carolina does have to win the
Carolina does have to win out, which is going to be hard, but I think
they could lose
possible.
the Duke. Yeah, they can lose the Duke because you still got to win a tournament to get in. But a win against Duke, I think, and maybe a couple of wins in the tournament may be enough to get you in. But you definitely have to win this tournament if you don't beat Duke. The biggest thing is, I'd like to just beat Duke and get it over with, right? And then start the momentum from there. But they put themselves up against the hole, and it's up to them to make a decision if they're gonna, rise to the occasion or not.
Yeah, you have to defend the Dean Dome tomorrow for sure.
Yep.
Well, I know we're going to get to it in a little bit, but that first game was actually a pretty good game.
Oh, it was a great game.
Unfortunately, North Carolina couldn't score. That's the only problem.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah,
disjointed.
Yeah, you're welcome. Just thought I'd throw that in there.
Hey, it happens.
I'm trying to figure out how somebody can't score and it was a great game happen in the same sentence, but hey,
As much
Duke didn't
as
do too great of a job of scoring either.
That's true too.
It doesn't sound like a great game.
Well, it was a tight game until the last 4 minutes, and then both teams couldn't score, and then Duke ended up
Some
winning
guy
that
on
game.
Duke also had 8 blocks, which didn't
Yeah,
help.
that helps. That does
That
help
helps
in the lower
Duke's
block.
favor.
It does. It does. All right. So we'll hop over to the Big 12 and Big East real quick. Just a couple more, and then I want to talk about a few teams in the Colonial Athletic as well. But for the Big 12, Kansas obviously is a team everyone expects to win. But if I'm looking at a team that I think could make a little noise that we're not expecting, I'm going to go with the 2 Texas teams in TCU and Texas.
I was just about to say Texas as well, so I completely agree with you.
Yeah, I could see those 2 teams. I could also see Kansas State and Baylor, like usual. Baylor likes to fight.
Baylor's always good once it comes to tournament time.
Yeah, the thing is, I could clearly see those. I wouldn't be surprised if Baylor or Kansas State win. They're 2 and 3 in the conference.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start sliding a little bit more, that's when I see like Texas, TCU, some of those teams that are a little bit lower.
TCU's a fun team. Kansas State is really good. I agree, Coach Dante. That's what I said earlier. They beat a lot of good teams this year.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then when we move on to the Big East, so Marquette looks like the cream of the crop right now, but you never count out UConn.
Don't count out those Huskies. They were really good to start the year. They hit a little bump, but I still think they're going to fight.
Well, even Providence, they're always a team to look for once it comes to conference. Yeah, exactly.
Xavier's there too.
Absolutely. So then I wanted to highlight the Colonial Athletic, a couple of reasons. So I think College of Charleston, obviously the number 1 team there. They're a team who they're going to get a bid either way. They're 28 and 3, right? 17, 1 loss at home all season. 2 losses in the conference. And both of those, I believe, were on the road. So I like what they or Hofstra are doing. I want to slide down a little bit here. And 2 teams I want to highlight there is my alma mater, North Carolina A&T, as well as Delaware.
I've always liked North Carolina A&T.
These are 2 teams that are primed, I think, and locked to do something in a tournament environment where it's, win or go home. You're not worried about what you're going to do tomorrow. You're just playing for the day. I've seen both of their conference games. And I think that the conference, when you look at it, they're both 8 and 10 in the conference, by the way. But when you look at it, there's been a lot of close games that they've lost. There's been a lot of games that one thing went the other way, they win. So I think you get them in that environment, you give them some electricity, you give them a little bit of focus. I think you see them kind of just go wild with it. I'm very excited about that. I love to see the underdogs. You hear me talking, it's going to be the underdogs. Like, I don't care about the teams that everybody else already talks about because we know that they're going to do it. But what about everybody else? And then one more, since we were talking Pac-12 earlier, I'm going to go with Oregon basketball in the Pac-12. I think that's a team that can make some noise.
They're a fun team. They always have a fun team.
Well, I also look at USC and Arizona, who are right behind UCLA, too. So those are 2 teams to watch out for.
Yeah, for sure. I agree. Arizona, even though they got upset by Arizona State, they're still a really good team.
Well, and once they get to the conference tournament, they will easily be, a top 3 seed and get the bye into the second round there. So.
Oh, yeah. When does conference tournament start next?
Conference tournament started last week. Well,
when does the ACC tournament start?
The ACC and some of those start next week, but there's conference tournaments that started this past week.
Oh, yes. True.
It's a 2-week thing for some of the smaller conferences. Yep. So I'm going to combine the next 2 things real quick here. So what's you guys' most anticipated men's and women's matchup of the weekend, this weekend coming up? So that can be if it's a conference tournament, if it's just a regular game. Just tell me what you guys, and if you have one of each, that's fine. If you only have a man's, you only have a women's, that's fine as well.
I just have a men's, and honestly, that's number 3 Kansas versus number 9 Texas. I mean, if Texas obviously wants to do something special in the Big 12 tournament, they've got to beat Kansas. So this is a way for them to have momentum to beat number 3 Kansas. Kansas, though, obviously we know they're going to be a top 4. Well, I would say top 4, but one of the number 1 seeds in the conference and not the conference tournament, in the NCAA tournament. But Texas has to prove they can play with the big boys. So it's a huge game for them.
Nice.
That makes sense. That makes sense. Will you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Again, thanks
All right.
for the invite. I got 2 games.
No problem.
One women's, one men. Women's.
Let's go.
Tonight, Stanford, UCLA.
Well, that is a big game.
Both are ranked.
That is a huge.
That's a game tonight. And I think Haley Jones is a top 10 pick in that women's draft. And that's going to be a fun game to watch. The guys, come on, cool. We all know it. It's our Tar Heels against the Duke Blue Devils. Yeah, the battle at the Dean Dome tomorrow. The one Jordan said, that's a really good one. But the Carolina Duke is the entree. The Kansas versus, who's it? Texas?
Yeah, Kansas versus Texas.
Kansas versus Texas is the appetizer. The main entree, the giant steak, the big piece of steak, is UNC Duke.
I mean, I can't argue with that at all because it is the bigger game, Duke versus UNC. You
But,
like to see it be.
but I am probably going to watch Texas versus Kansas.
I probably will too, but I will check on Duke versus UNC.
There's a couple of other ones that don't forget about here either. We got Arizona, UCLA, number 8, Arizona versus number 4, UCLA. Pitt and Miami is there's 2 top 25 teams. It is.
Nice.
Yep. And then also, of course, it's another game I was looking at. So we got Alabama and Texas A&M's, but we also have what's that? What was that I was looking at here?
Liberty versus Kennesaw State should be a good final. Even though, like I said, Kennesaw State has struggled with the smaller teams. Like, I work at Queens University of Charlotte. We just transferred to Division I. We beat Kennesaw State this year in the regular season once, but we lost to them by 1 in the semis.
Yeah, it was UConn and Villanova I was looking for there, guys. I found that one. That's the other one. UConn and Villanova is going to be a good game. I love to see those 2 teams.
Yep.
Teams play fun, very good style, so I like to see them play. But obviously, UNC Duke. Come on, yeah, come on.
Exactly right.
What about you, Steven? Man, anyone stick out to you besides the most obvious one?
No, yeah, just the obvious ones for right now, man. You know, I'm like I said, I'm a couple of weeks away from really getting fully into college basketball here, so I haven't been paying enough attention to really watch those sneaky matchups. You know, one thing I always find kind of interesting is conversations, you know, around the rivalry games. You know, Duke and North Carolina both on paper look like trash. You know, if you weren't watching, you didn't know anything about it, you would, you know, probably still want to watch this game because of the 2 teams involved. And that's, you know, to me, even if you're not like actively watching all the games and you're more of a casual fan, that's what makes college basketball great, is you have these rivalry games and you know they're always going to be fun games to watch.
That's true.
Can't argue with that one.
Kudos to you, Mr. I don't watch basketball.
I didn't say I don't watch basketball, right? I said I don't watch every game during the season.
I know, man.
Fair enough.
Difference.
I hear that I don't watch, so you know, I can only tell you what I hear.
I mean,
I think Will, that's the game in college in women's. I think I mean, that's the game, right? That is the game. UCLA, you know, Stanford. That's the game in women's college basketball that I see happening so far. There'll be some other matchups, of course, next weekend when some of the other conferences are finishing up, but yeah, that's the one. 100% agree with that. So, Steven, I think we had a couple of NFL things that we want to kind of talk about here tonight.
Okay. What you got for me? Because you know I know the NFL now. That's my bread and butter.
So we talked about this in our video we did earlier this week, but now we got Jordan and Will. We kind of bring them into it. What are your guys' thoughts if you had an opportunity to read over the rule changes that have been proposed?
I haven't really read them actually.
There's one that I would like to see, and that is the 4th and 15 instead of an onside kick. They've been proposing that for years. The onside kick just doesn't work. Why not? Or it's either 4th and 10 or 4th and 15. But you have a better chance of converting that than the onside kick. It just doesn't make sense why we still have the onside kick. Other leagues like the XFL, the USFL have done 4th and 15. Why not just do that? As for the other ones, I read through them. I didn't like any of them except for the not the overtime, the 4th and 15.
So for me, I think the 4th and 15 stinks. I think we should leave that to the XFL and the USFL. That's my opinion. Doesn't make it right. I would like to see something change about it though. Maybe something as simple as pushing the receiving team back like 5 yards, but still only forcing the ball to go 10 yards to give it a 5-yard cushion to make it where either team could actually get the ball.
That actually makes sense because, most of the time
I like
the recovering team usually gets it and not the team that's, the kicking team. So, yeah, you know what? Why not do that? That makes more sense.
Yeah,
Let's
I
see.
like it too.
How about we just have them kick a 55-yard field goal? If you make it, you get the ball.
That's been too easy though. In the past few years, though, kickers are making 55% a lot.
They need to do a mascot fight. If the other team doesn't have a mascot, they automatically lose.
Mascot fight. I mean, it could be interesting.
Listen, man, you say that, but some people have live mascots.
Yeah, you're gonna make I mean, we have Thunder. The Broncos have Thunder, and while they do have a mascot, also Miles, but we know it's Thunder. That's our mascot, a horse.
It is Thunder.
Yeah, I wouldn't want Swoop to fight a horse. That would be a little. That would definitely be a little one-sided. Now, the one that I'm
fine with it. My mascot's got a pickaxe, so.
Oh, okay, you win.
It's probably a foam one though, so
that's true.
Damage they actually do. The rule change that I like, that I think will never pass, is reviewing roughing the passer.
That's been so. I mean, I guess that I did see that one, and how would you review it? Because of the fact that some of these roughing calls were just so, they weren't even roughing calls. It just depends on how they say it in the playbook, the rule book, because we tried, challenging defensive pass interference, and of course, it was the way it was interpreted in the rule, and obviously got rid of that. So I'm interested to see if that actually passes, how they would actually review roughing the passer.
Here's the problem, and I feel the exact same way about pass interference, right? Both need to be reviewable, but unless we are going to get a super clear, non-NFL-esque explanation for what actually defines those two penalties, there's no point. The NFL showed you time after time this season that even when we all saw they got the call wrong, they were like, "Nah, it was the right call."
Right.
If they won't even admit it after the game, they're certainly not going to admit it during the game.
Mm-mm.
Yeah.
So there's no point. There's absolutely no point in even having it there because the NFL is not going to be clear about it.
Mm-mm.
Agreed. Will, did you have any other thoughts on that, sir?
I did not.
Fair enough. So something else we had said we were going to discuss here tonight. We got a few minutes to discuss it, so it's great how time worked out. Franchise tags.
Oh, yeah.
3 of them so far.
Yeah.
Two and a proposed.
Yeah, we got like 2 and a P. Like we playing spades here.
Like we play
So
spades.
of course, exactly. Of course, Daron Payne was tagged. The reports have come out. The Raiders are going to tag Josh Jacobs if no deal is reached by the deadline.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not surprising. Yeah.
And then the Cowboys have also said the same thing about Tony Pollard.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's 2 running backs that I thought were going to hit the free agency market.
I think Zeke hits the market. honestly.
I would agree. I would
Let
take
Zeke
Pollard.
hit the market.
I would take Pollard over Zeke anyway.
Yeah,
Even coming off the injury?
Realize when it comes to running backs, when you look at the top end running backs and what they're actually getting paid, and then you realize that you can franchise a running back for like $10 million, you're actually saving yourself money franchising them.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it also
And
gives
that's
you
what
more.
that's what I think
there's a
the
couple
Giants
of-
are planning to do with Saquon.
Yep.
Well, and also that gives you more time to reach a long-term deal too. So it works out in their favor, well, at least in the team's favor, not necessarily players' favor.
Yeah, it's just like with Jacksonville tagging Ingram. It's like, were you going to pay him George Kittle, Travis Kelce money? No, you were not. So you franchise him, you save yourself some money.
You franchise him for a year. See if you can work out something long term with him while under the franchise tag, and then that allows you to, go with someone else. So the Giants are in a very interesting situation because a lot of reports have come out that they're going to pay Saquon Barkley. They're going to work out a deal for him. So that's going to leave the tag open if they want to tag Daniel Jones.
I also saw that Daniel Jones wants $45 million a year. I mean, that's ridiculous.
He's not getting that.
I don't buy that, Jordan. I do not buy that.
I need more. I need more trustable sources with that. I'm a little skeptical on him asking for that money, right? Because if he's asking for that money, then you're basically saying that other quarterbacks are worth $55 million a year.
I'm just assuming that's just trying to give him leverage. That's all it is.
He's been hanging with Kenner Perkins if he really asked for that.
Yeah,
he's definitely been hitting up purple blues like Coach Dante said earlier. Hard. What you got, Will?
Super hard.
No, I agree 100% with these guys.
Right.
Cool, yeah.
But we've only got 2 more days before the franchise tag has to be applied. So it's going to be interesting to see, because I think right now you've got a lot of teams are kind of trying to work out some of these long-term deals with guys or whatever, and it's going to come down to really that 11th hour. If they can't get a deal done, they're going to slap their franchise tag on them.
Exactly.
Philadelphia. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. Franchise tag, book it, stop playing.
So you ain't trying to wait for the 11th hour on that one, huh? Just go ahead and do it right now.
We need to have done that. We need to do like the Commanders did with Daron Payne. Let's do it. I mean, I know we're going to work out a long-term deal, but I feel like just do the franchise tag. Let's get it over with because we know we want to have the exclusive tag too. Like, we ain't talking about no exclusive. No one else can talk to him. He's got to stay. Whoever else got to go for him to stay, it is what it is. He's got to stay. There's certain players you don't let hit the market. He's got to stay. I don't want to go too much into my own team, but there's a lot of guys that's being rumored for the tag possibility. Some of these guys may work out deals, so we'll see a lot of that. That's some of the things we'll probably hop into next week as far as who was franchise tagged, who wasn't. Free agency will get going here soon after that, and of course, you gotta know next week we're gonna be big, very heavy on NCAA. We'll have a lot of the championships either about to be over or over. We may even, if you guys are game for it, we may even do a prediction on who we're going to field. That'll be pretty gangster, I think. Of course, one of us will just be watching that, but it's okay.
Hold on, let me go ahead and give y'all a preview for next week.
There you go. That's all he would do.
We'll have him run the behind the scenes stuff next week. Keep us looking nice. There you go. Yeah. We'll give him a question list and be like, you ask, we'll answer. How about that?
I'll bring my my radio voice.
There you go.
But yeah, man, it'll be exciting. I appreciate you guys coming out. Shout out to JJ as well. It's going to be an exciting week next week. We're getting to the heart of basketball season, right? This is the time. If you're a fan of basketball, you've got women's tournament happening, men's tournaments happening. You've got March Madness for both popping off. You've got the NBA You're starting to get rumblings. We're starting to get signings, free agency moving for the WNBA. And if you have a problem with the WNBA, you're at the wrong place, and that's your problem, not mine. But it's going to be a big time, for the sport of basketball. Football, something's always going on with football. Somebody's always saying or doing something they shouldn't do. Some coaches are always getting hired or fired. Some staff is always losing somebody. Somebody's going somewhere else. So a lot of that we can kind of sprinkle in a little bit. But guys, I mean, we really gotta get my co-host to be in that circle box, not talking for the next few weeks, because it's basketball time.
Wait, enjoy my silence while you can, because once the tournament starts, I'll be locked in. I'll be talking. When NBA playoffs get here, you won't be able to shut me up.
We'll be able to set you up.
Especially if the Nuggets go far.
The Lakers don't make it.
Yeah, they probably won't.
Hey, we're only like 3 games out of like 5th place. You hush your mouth.
So it's like 7 other teams he's neglected to point out. So I did have one guy that said he was hopping in to ask you some Lakers related questions, but he didn't show up, or he didn't ask the questions either way. So hey, I mean, that works for me as well, because it is what it is. But guys, I mean, pretty much done with the topics for the night. Is there anything else that you guys would like to discuss? Tell people where they can find you, and we can get this thing finished up.
Well, you can find me at SportsScoop1. I have a blog that I write Mondays through Thursdays with podcasts on Fridays at sports-scoop.com.
All right, Mr. Vogues.
Basket Bros Sunday night.
Let's go. Mr. Box, any final thoughts from you tonight?
I mean, I'm just going to leave it with this. Y'all can hate all you want. The Lakers are going to make the playoffs. I don't know how far we're going to go, but we're going to make it.
So I just want to respond to that real quick by saying Anthony Davis, Mr. Street Clothes himself, the king of the Street Clothes Society, is probably hurt again. LeBron's out for about 3 weeks. You have some young guys, solid players. They're good guys to put in, but you're going to be without LeBron for about 3 weeks at least. And AD is, Mr. Glass. So I don't know if with those 2 guys being injured, that puts a little bit more of a damper on you guys, And Davis, he may end up playing the next game. He didn't play the last game. He may end up playing, and then what happens then, right? He twists his ankle. He's out for six months. So
my hope with AD here is that he was held out because they did what they've been doing for months now, and no one's been paying attention. They've set him out the second game with back-to-backs, like pretty much the whole season, or at least the games that he was healthy enough to actually be part of a back-to-back.
So I get that, but here's the thing. In a lot of those games, there was one guy that was on the court that's not on the court now, and he's not going to be on the court.
Well, the hope obviously is a lot of these guys that you brought in at the trade deadline are going to be able to step up, because let's be honest, there was also a huge difference in talent on this team when that was happening before. There is enough guys who can actually score that I think we can survive without LeBron, but we do need AD healthy and on the floor for that to happen.
And I can agree with that. You'll need one of those 2 guys to play. You guys got lucky with OKC. It was B squad against B squad.
Yeah.
It worked out for you.
Better than theirs.
Hey, it worked out for you, right? So that's all that really matters. But that's going to be interesting for me. My final thoughts: I'm going to travel to a different world here. World of, some people call it sports entertainment. Some people call it professional wrestling. And I'm going to simply say, in regards to professional wrestling, we're going to be looking at AEW having the Revolution event here soon, right? This is a big event for AEW. I wouldn't say it's their version of like WrestleMania or anything, but it's a big event. I just want to say that AEW has done a great job, I think, of the stories, promoting the wrestlers and the stories and making it make sense. It's been a great alternative so far to WWE. Some people like myself watch both. Some people only watch one or the other. They've drawn a line in the sand. They refuse to cross it. But I think it's a great alternative, and it pushes WWE to be better because you now have a true competition. Those two different companies battling is going to make the fans the happiest, right? A lot of your trolls are not going to have as much to talk about now because WWE has to put out good content. They can't just coast through it because there is an alternative. AEW still has to compete with WWE, so they still have to make sure that they're putting out quality content. There's been some people that have left WWE, went to AEW, not so much the other way, but one big name left AEW and went to WWE, and it was the only one that really made sense. And that, of course, is the American Nightmare, Cody Rhodes. I love what WWE is doing with him. I will say, for me, the one difference is I don't want him to win the championship at WrestleMania. I want him to get screwed by like Seth Rollins or somebody else, and I want him to take the Stone Cold route. Had the shot, not of his own volition, but he got screwed out of it. So now he's got to fight back, get through whoever the side character is, get back on the path, and then get the rematch. And then that's when he gets one belt, not two, and wins it.
Yeah, they got to figure out something to do to get those belts separated, man.
Because they've done it with the tag team belts. It's not hard. You had the perfect story. All WWE had to do is say, you win the Money in the Bank. I mean, not the Money in the Bank, excuse me. That's the way they could do is Money in the Bank. It's only one contract. But the same thing with, him winning the Royal Rumble. You can only choose one belt. Of course, he's going to choose the WWE Championship that gets the two belts off. I don't think Roman Reigns is going to use both of them at the same time. So you've got to find a way for him to have a challenger for only one. That's the time that I think he might be able to actually lose a belt. But until then, the tribal chief is not losing his belt.
True.
Acknowledge him.
Acknowledge him.
And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we'll be wrapping up this episode of the Play Caller Sports Talk Show. You know the place to be, 7:30 p.m. Eastern next week. And bring your thoughts for the NCAA March Madness, men's and women's. Let's go.
See y'all next week.